And we are live. Welcome back to another episode of a as of yet unnamed podcast. This is Faerhad Targaryen.
And Al Rogers.
Cool. Last time you were tuning in, listening to us, we were talking about the 2019 version of Aladdin. I enjoyed it. Al gave it a record low, but for today, we're here to talk about a 2017 action film known as Baby Driver, which was Al Rogers' choice. Al, what did you think of this movie? What made you decide to go with this one for today's episode?
I think the marketing is what got me. I was browsing around for movies like I typically am, and cover art caught my eye, read into it, and blindly said, "Hey, let's check out this film." It has Jamie Foxx as one of the starring actors. I've seen some of his other films. Unlawful Citizen comes to mind, and it's a film that I also really enjoyed, and figured let's give this film a shot. And I think after we review it, you'll see why the film was worth our time.
I think back in 2017, because this is a 2017 movie, I feel like back when I went to the movies for something to watch back in 2017 or in 2016, I saw the trailer for Baby Driver, and I thought it was cool, but I never thought I would actually get around to seeing it. But I'm glad I saw it, because I actually did enjoy it a lot. And yeah, Jamie Foxx does a good job portraying, I guess, kind of like a side villain in this movie. He's known as Bats, as just one of the, I guess, team of villains who commit bank robberies and whatnot. So this movie was interesting because it was very, in a way, it was a action film, but music played a whole nother game and story in this movie, because the main character played by Ansel Elgort, who I recognize first and foremost from The Fault in Our Stars, which I thought was a really good movie. The story, again, spoilers before we dive into it. Spoilers for Baby Driver. We are going to talk about the whole movie from beginning to end, so spoiler warning right here. If you haven't seen Baby Driver yet, pause this, go watch it now, and then come back to hear us talking about it. So,
So you mentioned that music plays a big part of the movie, and there are quite a couple of movies that come to mind that do something very similar. And first one that comes to mind is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, where Star-Lord has a cassette player, and he listens to music throughout the entire film. And in this movie, you have the main character, Baby, who he's the getaway driver in a series of heists. So this movie, it's all based on bank robberies and other different heists. But in order to be successful in his heists, he feels the need to put together these playlists that he listens to help keep him in the zone while he's performing the getaway.
Yeah, and the reason for it is because he has this condition, I think it's called tinnitus. Kevin Spacey's character...
Ringing in the
ear. Yeah, and this is a result of an accident he was in when he was a little child. He's an orphan. His parents he had good parents, but they just argued a lot. His mom was also a singer. That's probably part of the reason why he was into music so much, other than what he was going through as a young adult. But his parents die in a car crash, and as a result of that, being the survivor, he has tinnitus, and he uses music to drown it all out. A lot of the characters kind of give him shit for it, one of them being a character played by Jon Bernthal, known as Griff, who I guess kind of makes fun of him, even though he got the job done. Griff, Jon Bernthal's character, is only in the movie for the first part of the first act. I like this character though, and I like the actor, so I was a little bit disappointed that he wasn't in the movie at all for the rest of it. But he kind of mocks Baby for, I guess he seems kind of slow to him because he doesn't talk much. He's really quiet. The actor didn't have a whole lot of lines throughout the whole movie. He spends a lot of the time just listening to music because the music kind of tunes out the ringing that he hears in his ears. But speaking of the music in the movie, I will say this was a pretty good movie first and foremost. One of the things that I did really like about it, being a music enthusiast myself, I didn't recognize all of the songs on the soundtrack, but I thought the soundtrack was really good. It definitely added element to a good listening element to the movie because I liked a lot of the songs that they were playing. And what I also appreciated, and you probably noticed this too, a lot of the beats of the music matched the beats of the movie. Does that make sense?
What do you mean by that?
So, if there were characters opening doors or closing doors, the sound of when the door closes matches the beat of a song when the beat drops. The same if
Okay.
they're like just dropping a brick of cash, like dropping the cash, the sound that it makes matched the beat of the song that was playing at the time. There was even a scene all the way at the end where John Hamm's character, who I think his name is Buddy, in the movie, shoots one of Baby's iPods. He has a lot of iPods. He shoots one of them and the music just stops, which was cool. So basically, yeah, the beats of the music soundtrack score matched the beats of the movie in certain cases. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No. Yeah. I wasn't keen on that as I was watching the film, but now that you mention it, yeah, I do recall that.
That was
Cool.
yeah. I thought that was really cool. And as the character himself, Baby, is an orphan, he has a foster father, and they decided to make the foster father character played by C.J. Jones, known as Joseph. I think he was deaf. The actor himself is also deaf, and they decided to make the character, I guess, deaf, which was also cool and interesting, nonetheless as well. So Baby also knows sign language, lives with him, and I liked that character as well. I liked the dynamic there because Joseph is aware that of his life, like what he does for a living. Basically, he was roped up by, I think the way Kevin Spacey explains how he became a getaway driver was that he tried stealing Kevin Spacey's car, Doc. The character's name is just
Right.
Doc. He tried stealing a car, got caught, and then got caught up as being a getaway driver for the Doc. So Joseph, his foster
Yeah.
father, is aware of all that, um, and since he, I guess, is very important to Baby, I expected him to also have a larger role, but he was important, but he just wasn't in the movie a whole lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So on that, and this is really the one of the only things that kind of put me off about the film, and it was that there were a lot of inconsistencies in the story development as well as the motivation of some of the main characters.
Mm.
So you mentioned that that Baby started off at a very early age doing these heists, and that his foster father was unaware of what he's doing, right? So there's a scene where Baby is hiding money under a rugged area underneath a floorboard. He's hiding money, and his foster father asks him, "Where are you? Where are you getting that money from?" And Baby lies to him in sign language and says it's from work. But if Baby had been doing that for so long, do you really think that that would be the first time that he gets caught? Because Baby wasn't extremely careful in hiding that money. He does it while his foster father's in the vicinity, and he just so happens to be asleep. I don't think that was the most careful way to hide that money. And if he had been doing that for so long, then I think his foster father would have caught on years ago that he's up to some shady stuff.
Well, eventually Joseph, the foster father character, does find out about it because he says in sign language, "This life is not this life is not cut out for you. He has some way of saying that, you deserve to be doing better than this. You're meant for something better than this. And eventually, when his work with the doc is done, he convinces him to be a pizza delivery guy for a little while until he gets roped back into it. So, and that's
Yeah, but it took him that long to figure that out. I think I think the film would have made a little more sense if Joseph were already aware of what's going on. It doesn't fit. Those scenes don't really fit within the reality that they've established.
maybe the reality would have made a little more. I mean, or maybe the dynamic between the two characters, Joseph and Baby, would have made more sense if Joseph played more of a role. But the Doc was a more important character than Baby was. Once his work was over, um, he tries to take out the girl from the diner. I think her name is Deborah, and that was cute. I liked the romance that they had there. Some of it, I guess, didn't really. She became a ride or die woman for him all the way at the end, even though they didn't really seem to know each other for that long. But he does say that he loves her at the end. But when he was taking her out for a date, the doc shows up there and says, "Hey, I have good news for you. Bad news and good news. There is no bad news. The good news is you're about to make a lot of money continuing to work for me." Then he says something like, "Yeah, I said we were straight, but did I say we were done?" And he goes on to say, "Do I have to really tell you that if you don't do this for me, that I'm going to hunt you down, kill everybody you care about, and then come for you?" He basically just establishing himself as the kingpin of Atlanta. There's another scene later on where the doc says to Baby, "Do you not consider me your friend?" I thought Baby, I mean, he's not stupid. The Baby character was definitely smart. Like, he seemed smart to me. So I would have liked it if he said something like, "Friends don't threaten to kill friends. That's not what friends do." But he just said nothing because he doesn't say much to begin with, and then carries on with whatever the job was. I think that was around the time they introduced Jamie Foxx's character in it as well, who was kind of like a secondary villain to me.
Yeah. So another inconsistency that really sticks out to me is that um, so Doc, after having learned that the heisters that he just put onto this brand new heist um, botched the gun purchasing.
Yes.
Doc continued with this heist
Yes.
because he comes off as a very careful and methodical mastermind. The guy who typically plan and only does the planning as far as a heist is concerned. A very careful mastermind, and the fact that he continued with this heist even after so many screw-ups along the line. I mean, and another inconsistency in that is that Doc says he never uses the same heist crew.
I was thinking about that too, but then he does, yeah.
He chooses these same guys that you saw from an earlier heist. So I'm not sure why all of a sudden his character chose to be so sloppy, and surely he wouldn't have lasted as long as he did, being so sloppy. So that kind of ruined that part of the movie for me. But the action scenes, those were something else.
Oh yeah.
So talk to me about that first action scene with the red Subaru.
Yes.
What were your thoughts?
Oh my god, yo. So when I started off the intro of the movie, just the opening in general, it hyped me up. Because they were making Baby out to be like this person who never misses, never makes a mistake on the road. And that was kick-ass. The opening chase scene was awesome, you know? And then to watch how very quickly after that he starts messing up just because he sees bloodshed, kind of threw a question mark in my head, because I wonder, the movie introduces him as this flawless driver who can go really, really fast. And you
Yeah.
mean to tell me that that was the first time he saw something go wrong, something he didn't expect, and it misses him up entirely? Maybe it was, but that was a little off-putting for me, just a little bit. But I liked the opening. I liked the opening a lot. The action sequences overall were pretty great as well. There was another scene where um, they switched cars a few times, and then a gun was pointed at another person, and the person in that SUV chased them down for a really long time. Never caught up to them, but they were getting chased down by that person. Do you remember which scene I'm talking about?
Yeah. So I noticed that scene as soon as it starts. That blue truck has a Marine Corps anchor
Oh,
on the license plate, and as soon as I saw that, I'm like, okay, something's gonna happen here with where a rogue Marine is going to jump into this action scene, and sure enough, um, the owner of that vehicle sees what's happening, jumps into his vehicle, uses his weapons, uses his firearm ability, and starts chasing Baby down.
yep, that happens. It never catches up to him, but yeah, that's something else that happens to him, and he gets annoyed by it the entire time that this is happening. He doesn't want to be doing it, and you can see it in the character's face. And that's another thing. I think Ansel Elgort is a good actor. At certain points, I feel like he was a little too stoic, but I liked his portrayal of the baby character overall, and I liked the chemistry that he had with Lily James Deborah as well. Um, One thing I guess that I wish he just kind of stuck up for himself a little bit more, because he's not a coward. There was another scene that I feel like he could have handled a little differently when they're driving by the diner that Deborah works in. Baby says, "No, we're not going there. It sucks." But they end up going there anyway. He's the driver, so he could have just kept on driving and took them to a different diner, but he takes them there as Bats wanted anyway, which, if that were avoided, I feel like things would have gone differently anyway, but it doesn't really ruin his relationship with Deborah any as it is, because she still trusts him. She still, stood by his side no matter what was going on with him. They were kind of what they one had was all the other one had, I guess, because um, she mentioned, I think at a certain point, she mentioned that her mother was sick, so she was taking care of her. And Baby, of course, has his foster father, but is an orphan. So they talk about several times just forgetting about their lives and going on a road trip across the country, playing music. Because, they talk about their names, how Deborah is a name in some songs, Baby is a name in a lot of songs, and she joked about how they could drive across the whole country and never run out of songs to sing to while they were driving around. But anyway, my point is going back to when they were driving away from the ghetto, like in the getaway car. I felt like Baby could have stuck up for himself instead of driving to the diner. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion, though. I feel like that could have been avoided.
I think that's a valid point. Um, but all of it could have been avoided if Baby stuck to his agreement, carried out the heist, and then gone off and sailed off into the sunset.
That's
I
true.
think I think all of it could have been avoided. All of it could have been avoided.
Yeah, he didn't
You know,
have to, like, when, yeah, you're right, because when they went to the diner and left, he wrote a note to Deborah saying, a road trip, 2 a.m. He didn't have to have it be that night. I mean, unless he was worried that he would just be stuck in that life forever, and that night would have been his one time to escape. So unless he was thinking that, but I don't really see it.
that just wasn't very logical. It
Yeah.
wasn't logical.
That's what kind of brought into the third act, which is where everything goes wrong. The next morning, they I guess are they pulling another heist at the post office, because he sees the same lady there, because there was another scene where he goes into the post office with the doc's nephew and tries to count the amount of security cameras, the number of employees, the number of customers that were in there, I guess just to prepare for the heist or whatever. And when Baby is waiting, like when the people when the team is going in to do whatever it is that they had to do, he sees the lady that was helping him buy stamps when he went in to I guess investigate the post office, and he shakes his head. She goes back, it's a security guard. Then Bats shows up, shoots the security guard, which pisses Baby off, and then he drives straight into the truck ahead of him and kills Bats. So this establishes a few things. First of all, it shows that I guess Baby's not afraid. He's definitely not a coward. He can stick up for himself, and he's also not afraid to hurt other people too, who I guess he thinks deserves it. Because one of the things that Bats said to him was, in this world or in this work, the moment you catch feelings is the moment you catch a bullet. So maybe he was taking Bats' advice, and that's how Bats himself got killed. You know what I mean?
I don't agree with that last part. Um, I don't think Bats caught any feelings. I don't think he felt one way or the other about Baby. He just wanted Baby to do his job.
Well, no, nobody caught feelings. What I'm saying is that was a line that Bats said
Yeah,
to Baby, and Baby wasn't catching any feelings either. I mean, he killed Bats, so he was taking Bats' advice by not catching feelings and killed him essentially. Um, the movie goes on because the heist is kind of ruined. Darling, which is Buddy's wife or girlfriend character, they both get out of the car and they start like he starts getting physical with Baby. He's like, "What did you do? What did you do?" And he says, "I moved." That's what they told him to do, was move, and he drove straight, killed Bats. And then there's a chase. There's a chase scene where they split up. Darling and Buddy are together shooting at the cops, and then he just makes a run for it. Baby just makes a run for it. I liked that too. My two favorite parts of the movie, off the top of my head, are probably the opening scene and the chase scene on foot. Because this is the first time we see Baby being fast without a car. He showed a little bit of parkour there. It was kind of slick. It was kind of cool, and it builds up to the moment where eventually they meet up again. And I think Darling says, "You are a bad luck charm," because he's trying to hotwire a car to escape, and crashes into the car that they had. Buddy,
yeah. Just the chances of that. What are the chances
yeah, that they,
that the very vehicle that they have picked out of this random parking lot to escape is the very vehicle that they slam into as they're trying to pull away and Baby's trying to drive out the parking
yeah.
lot. Wow.
I think right then and there is also when Darling decided to shoot at the police again, and then she dies, which sets Buddy off edge and says, "This is all your fault." And then the rest of the movie, or the rest of his arc of the movie, is revenge against Baby, right? So I like I like John Hamm. I think he's a great actor too. But the question mark again then to me is because eventually after that, the doc dies because Baby runs to him for help, and the doc kind of does help him. Like takes him over to the parking garage and has him take a car for the finale of the movie, which is the death of Buddy. But why write the third act as Buddy becoming the main villain, like going after revenge against Baby? I think what this was mostly Doc's fault that Baby was part of this, because Doc dragged him back into the getaway life, right? So the movie should have built up to Baby taking revenge on the Doc, not Buddy taking revenge on Baby. That's my opinion.
Yeah, those last scenes didn't make much sense.
Yeah.
Like as far as motive, not it. They were action packed.
Yeah.
They were great scenes from that perspective, but as far as did the characters' motives line up with the action of the scenes? No, no.
So it's interesting that you bring up motives, because one of the things that I guess the director was trying to do was color coordinate the characters, because there were several scenes where Baby just dresses up in black and white to make him be kind of like in the gray area of everything. Bats always wore red, Darling always wore pink, and off the top of my head, I don't remember what Buddy was wearing, but the movie was trying to color coordinate the characters as well to have that mean something, you know, how baby kind of just goes back and forth really with the lifestyle that he's in. But I think it's safe to say that he has a good heart. They even say this like at court. He has a good heart. He doesn't want to be a part of this life, but he's just playing with the hand that he was dealt. Um, and then the movie kind of subverted my expectations a few times. I don't know if the movie was going to, like, as I was watching it, if it was going to just end with baby and Deborah just driving away into the distance, like kind of like a happy ending, because it wasn't really a happy ending. I guess it was. It wasn't exactly bittersweet because he does go to jail. I think.
So, have you seen the movie? Um, oh, Selma and Louise.
Don't think so. No.
No. Okay. As that last scene was almost scene by scene that. Let me. Actually, not Selma.
So they were like
Thelma.
they were recreating a scene from another movie.
Yeah. So the movie is Thelma and Louise, and at the end of the film, there's a and spoiler alert for that movie that came out in 1991. But it's also a drama and crime film, and you've got these two young women. They go off on a very awesome weekend, and at the end of the trip, they get into some trouble that they can't get away from. So the police kind of barricade off the road, and the young ladies there's a quick snapshot of the gas pedals, and they step on the gas pedal, and then they start charging away from the barricade and off a cliff. And then of course they die. But so in this movie, as Deborah makes a decision to accelerate towards the barricade, baby stops it.
Yeah.
But I think that was definitely a throwback to that film.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
then there are other movies where, yeah, the police will magically barricade off the road and somehow intercept the movie's criminals, and they'll make that decision. I think there's another movie, and this movie may also be calling back on Thelma and Louise, but director Rob Zombie in the movie The Devil's Rejects, they're crowded up into their little truck, and again there's a police barricade, and again there's another scene where they're looking at the gas pedal, the brake pedal, and the criminals step on the accelerator and start charging towards the police barricade, and the police unleash on this poor truck, killing everybody in there. So I think it's a very cliche scene, but it's cool.
Cliche is not always, I mean, generic cliche, etc. It's not always a bad thing. Just because someone has done the same thing in a work before and it's not original doesn't necessarily make it bad. It's the execution, the way I see it, it's the execution of the scene or the portrayal that makes it, whether it was good, like it was in good taste or not, you know? And
did the scene add anything for you?
Because at that point when I was watching it, I wasn't sure if it was going to end right there happily, or if it was going to continue with some other trouble going on, some other obstacle. And sure enough, it did, because the cops were there, right? And he goes to jail. He goes to court, and then he goes to jail. So, I think it makes sense, because even though he's not a bad guy at heart, he definitely deserved to get arrested and at least do some time, because he committed several crimes. He was a getaway driver. He did a lot of Grand Theft Auto. he hurt some people, so he definitely did deserve to be behind bars, unfortunately. But um, I just kind of wish, like, thinking about it now, I wish they just kind of fleshed out the backstory of the characters a little bit. They had a few flashback scenes of the car crash and how his parents died, a few flashback scenes of him in as a kid in the studio watching his mom record music, and then there was all those tapes, right? He had a whole bunch of tapes of like music that he was making himself. One of the cassettes said "mom," and I guess that was music that his mom was recording. A little bit more backstory, I feel like, would have helped. Maybe even for some of the villain characters too, since they ended up being important, and there wasn't really much. The only backstory we got for Buddy, who ended up being, I guess, the final villain, was Bats being an experienced criminal himself, just guessing and knowing that Buddy used
Okay.
to work for the stock exchange and got into a whole lot of debt and escaped it by becoming a criminal. So
Okay. Let me ask about the backstory. So movies like John Wick, where they don't provide a lot of backstory, um, does that bother you with films? Do you think that it's essential that backstory be provided, and that every single gap be spelled out for the audience?
well, if a movie establishes that a backstory is important, then I think it should be fleshed out a little bit. Yeah, they established that the backstory of Baby was important, explaining how he had this condition, like this hearing, semi-hearing condition, his love for music, what happened to his parents. They had little mini flashbacks for that. I think having more of that could have made it better. Yeah. So it's only if a movie shows that the history of the character, what they did before, was important. They kind of implied it with Buddy as well, but they didn't flesh it out as much. But they ended up making Buddy an important character. So for things like that, I would say, yeah, backstory is important.
Okay.
Yeah, not for every single movie ever, but only for movies where um, the background of the character is talked about a lot and shown. Like they showed little glimpses of it. If they showed more, I think it would have just made the movie a little bit better. But the movie was good. I still enjoyed the movie, and I think it's a movie that's worth watching overall. So, and this, it did do pretty well. I don't know if Sony was thinking about making a sequel from it when they were making the first one, but it was a pretty big financial success. The budget of this movie, not counting promotion and whatnot, was 34 million and made over 200 million in the box office. A
Wow.
sequel hasn't been announced, but I think Sony's thinking about having a sequel to this movie. So,
Um, well, I'm not surprised that they made so much money. Um, I was very curious about buying the soundtrack, and
oh
it
yeah.
is $19 on Google Play. Um, yeah, but it is what it is. Movie soundtracks can be expensive, although they're typically around $10. But yeah, I'm sure that added to the amount of money that they made for the film. Not necessarily the box office, but just
Having
different.
having Kevin Spacey in the movie. I mean, he's dead, so it's not like they'd have to bring him back for the sequel anyway, unless like they reveal that he had a twin brother or something. But having Kevin Spacey in the movie was a little made me a little bit hesitant considering the history of the actor himself, but he seemed a lot to me like this, and then there was a video game. I don't think it was. Yeah, maybe it was Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, and then House of Cards, which was the main thing from Kevin Spacey that I've watched. He's a good actor. I have to hand it to him. He is a
He's
good.
a great
Yeah.
actor. He's in that. So especially in Call of Duty, um, I want to say that was Call of Duty Advanced Warfare.
Yeah.
Um, that phenomenal acting,
Yeah.
phenomenal story. Um, yeah, it's unfortunate that
Yeah.
he's
Like when you think about what the person himself has done in real life, it's like it's just a question mark in my head. It just makes me hesitant to like watch his work and stuff. But the character is dead, so if there is going to be a sequel, they won't have to worry about the whole Kevin Spacey thing anyway to begin with. With
I think
the
I think if they are looking to make a sequel, then of course they have his nephew in the film, Doc's
oh
nephew,
yeah
um,
yeah
as he came off as a bit of a mastermind himself,
yeah.
and yeah, he'd be a young mastermind, but um, I think that would just add to the film.
I would also like it if they incorporated the Joseph character, like the foster father character, more. I mean, he's in a home now. Like I think he's in a home for elderlies because that's where Baby brought him to. But if there is going to be a sequel, I want him to be in the movie again and perhaps play a more important role because I liked his part. I liked his part in the movie itself. Um,
I think they should recruit Baby into the Fast and Furious universe and break him out of jail and go on and do Fast and Furious. Is it 9 or is it 10?
I th- I don't know, man. I think they are going to, or they say they're going to end the Fast and Furious franchise eventually. So even if there's,
Eventually.
yeah,
Every single one of those films continues to break the box office of the previous. But yeah,
the first Fast and Furious movie I ever went to go see was Seven because I think that was right, the one with where Paul Walker died as filming was going on, and that's the one that I went to go see. And that I think that was the first.
I think that was the last one I saw in theaters.
Seven? Yeah, I think that was also the first one to make over $1 billion at the box office too.
Yeah, I think that was part of it. Um, just I guess people paying tribute to Paul Walker.
Yeah, I liked Paul Walker as an actor too. So that but I wasn't crazy about the Fast and Furious movie. So but I wanted to see it, and I got invited to go see it, and that's why I saw it. I didn't see Baby Driver in theaters though. I just saw it recently, but I would recommend it. I would see it again with someone else if someone else wanted to watch it, but I don't think I would like it enough to like just see it on my own or call it like one of my favorites or anything. But since we are nearing the end of today's episode, I guess we can go ahead and go into ratings. Unless you want to give like any other like last thoughts about Baby Driver.
No, I think we can move on to ratings.
What? One last thing though, is Baby? Because I just want to ask you, I might have misheard something. What is Baby his real name? Because apparently they all had code names. You know, Doc,
Okay.
Buddy, Bats, Darling. Is Baby his real name, or did they? I think Deborah said his name is Miles, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, during the very last scenes, when he's in jail looking over the postcards, and Deborah is talking, she mentions that his real name is Miles.
Miles, okay. So, yeah. And does the movie end? I think the judge said 25 years, 5 years until parole. So does the movie end with him leaving on parole?
No, the last scenes show him still in jail, cleaning cars and doing other random jail activities.
Got it. Well, going into ratings then, I would give this movie a 7 out of 10. I was thinking about giving it a 6, but I feel like that would be a little too low. Because this movie was good, even though I didn't like it that much. It was good. I'd say it's on that level. It's a 7 out of 10 for me.
So, I'm a huge fan of bank robbery movies. This one was pretty good. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I'm gonna go with an 8, mostly because of the soundtrack.
Yeah, but soundtrack definitely was phenomenal. So
I'm gonna go with an 8.
Cool. Yeah, 8 is fair. I think 8, 6, 7, 8 would describe this movie. I feel like it got critical acclaim from the critics though. I think on Rotten Tomatoes it's like at least 90%, and even on Metacritic it's at least like 80 or 85 or higher. So that along with the box office success, I think is what's making Sony like have a lot of interest in continuing the series. So, but yeah, this was your choice, and I think it was good. I would definitely recommend it, as it was definitely enjoyable and definitely worth watching. So,
You know what that means?
what does that mean, Al?
It's your turn to choose.
Oh, yeah.
What we
So,
get to watch next.
For next episode, I want to switch it up a bit. I know, like, we're still doing movies, but for episode 10, our 10th episode, I wanted to switch it up and talk about a mini series on Netflix. It's 4 episodes, and it's called When They See Us.
Okay. When? What's that about?
So it's the story of it's based on a true story about 5 black and brown teenagers who are wrongfully arrested for a rape in Central Park. It's about the Central Park jogger case.
Central Park, New York City?
Yes. Yeah, so main settings I would say for the first 2 episodes are Central Park and I think Harlem. Yeah. It struck a lot of chords with me. It's very emotional, and yeah, I mean that's a lot to talk about in and of its own episode, but that is for next time. And I guess for now, with Baby Driver, I just want to say, yeah, good movie.
We're also going to name this podcast.
Yeah, yes. Hopefully by next episode, we will start it with the official title. But for now, I guess it is still the as of yet unnamed podcast. You have been listening to Faerhad Targaryen.
And Al Rogers.
Okay. Thank you all so much for listening to us, and be there for next time. Take care.
Peace.